Hello, this is a demo about storage redesign, one of many, and this time we are going to compare two approaches. One that I will call the old approach. This is running in this tab here, and the other one that I will call the new approach, and it's running over here in this other tab. And in case you want to check, the new one runs as root, and the old one runs as admin here. If you ever want to pause the video and check exactly which page you're looking at, of course you can look at the tabs here, but whatever. So, yeah, I'll try to point out the differences and what are the new ideas in the new approach. And first, let's look at the storage overview. You basically see the same information here and in the new one, but now the rows are sorted differently because the ID is slightly different. Now we have the device name here also in this row. I think that should be helpful. It's a better place than the location column. You can see the location column is pretty empty here. It now only contains mount points and names of volume groups and stratus pools and MD rates, etc. for the backing volumes for these things. So this is strictly looking upwards now. If we, direction is arbitrary, but now we say something is on top of something else when it is stored on this something else. So a file system is on top of a partition, for example. So now the location always looks up. This, for example, here is the logical volume and it's mounted on slash. So it's looking up what is on top of the logical volume. In the old approach, we sometimes had information about the thing itself. So this is just now the device file for the drive here. And it was talking about itself. And yeah, in the new one, I hope it's less confusing. It should be quite empty on the overview, maybe. Well, it depends on what you have, but in this case, it's empty. And yeah, another difference is the type. The type is also looking upwards now. If you look at this drive, it has type unformatted data because it has just been wiped and there's nothing on it, no partition table, no file system. So we say it is unformatted data. We don't say it's a drive or, what kind of drive. Is it a SCSI drive or is it a NVMe drive or anything like that? We just say it's unformatted data. So we are looking at the content. In the old approach, we would say it's a drive. So the piece of hardware is more important here than in the new one. In the new one, we talk about what's on it, what you use it for. And of course, all information is still available here. Let's now start creating things. So now we want to make a file system directly on this drive. So let's say we don't like all these menus here, they confuse us. So we want to be more concentrated and we click on the drive. And now we see, okay, this is information about our drive. This is the content that's on it. It's not formatted right now, so we format it as a file system and just quickly click this. Okay, and now we see, okay, now it's a file system on this drive. And if we look at the overview again, now we have two rows here. They both say def SDA, once in the location and once here in the ID. And that is the thing that bothered me. It actually started me looking for a new approach. So now we have two rows for the same thing for def SDA. We still say it's a drive and it has a file system on it. But let's look what has changed in the new approach here. Now you can say, you can see there's only one row Doesn't say unformatted data anymore, it says XFS file system. And it's one thing. It used to have nothing on it, now it has a file system on it. Location is not mounted because we haven't mounted it. And we can do that quickly here from this menu. Let's mount it there. And done. Now it's here's the location. So I think that's an improvement, and that was the main motivation to try out something new. But let's see how this, if you click on this row in the new approach, how it looks actually. And this is also now kind of the big idea maybe, that these details pages, they are now strictly sorted from top to bottom. So we always have things that are on top of something else, they are actually shown in the page on top of the other thing. And we even make a little arrow here to point that out, that there's a strict flow here. This now should be interpreted so that there's an XFS file system that is on top of this drive. And I think the visual representation, yeah, makes that point. Let's not look at the buttons here too closely. Then nothing has been done about those. Maybe we can improve the placement and the labels and everything about those. Let's leave them alone. Let's only look at here at the cards and how they are presented on the page. Let's compare that again with the old approach. You have the drive information at the top, and then you have a list of what's on it. In this case, the list doesn't really make a lot of sense because there's only one thing, and there can only be one thing because we don't have a partition table, but it's still presented as if there could be many here in a list. And it repeats the STA here. This is not the case anymore. Here you see that the file system is directly on the drive. Okay, this is now the old one again. Let's make a partition table on the other one. This is also not formatted yet. Let's create a partition table. GPT. Okay, now this changes to partitions. Now we have a drive and there are partitions on it, but they're shown below it. Anyway, and so there's free space. And now it makes sense that there are many rows. Let's create two partitions. And another one. This should move a bit to the left. No, so this is now the really old school storage details design that we had for a long time. The container kind of is on top, the drive is on top, and what is on the drive is listed below in some table. And that matches the overview quite well. You have the drive on top and then what's on it below it, indented in this table. Let's see how this looks in the new, with the new approach. This is the old drive that we have not touched. And here on the overview, you can see the second drive that we have partitioned. Now it says this drive now contains partitions. We could say partition table, but I think partitions is maybe more direct and a little bit less confusing, and you will soon see why, yeah, why it is partitions and not partition table. Again, this is the same as in the old approach, and let's see how it is presented. And this is now quite different maybe. Again, we have the same idea that we go from top to bottom. We have a number of partitions that are listed in this table. They are stored in a partition table, and that partition table is on the drive. If you know what's going on, this might look a little bit excessive, but I think it helps people understand how storage is actually structured and see the difference between having only one file system directly on the drive and having partitions in a partition table on the drive. And this is now pretty boring card. It only has one interesting piece of information, that it's a GPT partition table. There's no actions here that we can do directly with this. Maybe the create partition button could be here, or it should probably better be here because you work directly on this list. Now it's here in the free space, so we can improve all that. But I think even if nothing is added to this card and it stays boring like this, it's still information, and it might help you visualize how your storage looks. It's a storage graph in a way, or a little piece of it. Okay, back to the overview. One slight inconsistency, of course, is now that on this page, partitions are on top and drive is in the bottom. And here in the overview, we have the drive on the top and partitions under it. But yeah, I don't think that's super bad. This is a tree representation, and the other one is kind of a graph representation of the same data, and of course it looks different. Okay. Let's quickly look at this volume group here. Let's check how it looks in the old approach. Where is it? It's sorted differently because the names are different. This one is now called, it's a volume group. We have the location here. It is kind of superfluous. I don't think it's used or interesting, or it's not useful to identify this thing or work with it. So this is not shown anymore in the new approach. But yeah, this is the old school presentation of a volume group. They have the big thing at the top, what it is. This is the volume group, the header with all the information and some global buttons here. And then it has physical volumes and logical volumes. And you have to know how volume groups work to know what the physical volumes do and what the logical volumes are. Of course, this is logical volumes are looking up, and physical volumes kind of, they are below the volume group in a way, but this is, can't see it here. And of course, you know what I'm aiming for. If you now look at this in the with the new approach, here's the volume group again. Now it says it's logical volumes, so it's a description of what you see below here. And if you click on it, of course, logical volumes are at the top. There's only one here. They are stored on or in, or however you want to say it, in the volume group. Here's information about the volume group, and the global buttons are here for deleting it now, the whole thing. And then the volume group itself is stored on these physical volumes. So this could be a list. This is also only one now, but there's a button here for adding more. So this is again this idea that we present it from top to bottom. And if we now go and look at this file system, the details of the file system, again, the file system is at the top. It is stored on a logical volume. This used to, or in our first example, this was the drive. The file system was stored directly on a drive, but now, of course, it's stored directly on the logical volume. Here's the name, etc., some actions for it. And then this is a kind of continuation button, some idea that the next thing that this is stored on is the group, which is called logical volumes Fedora here. And you could think of it, we could maybe even make an expander here. So if you click this, then everything will be expanded in the page that hides behind this. Or maybe I always envision that we have a animation going on. So if you click on this little card here animates itself to the top of the page and expands and reveals everything that's in it. So that's one way to get around in your storage graph. Of course, you can click on the physical volume. Here you can see that it's a physical volume of this volume group is stored in a partition, which is part of the partitions of this Word I/O disk. So we can again click on it and imagine some animation of zooming us to this card where we see all the partitions, not only the one that we just had on the page at the top. This is now a DOS partition table stored on the video Word I/O disk here. Okay, let's do something crazy. Maybe let's go back to the old approach and clean this all up. Or should we do it in the new one? Let's do it in the new one. This is already unformatted, so it's nice to see here. We want to erase this. So this is still the old dialog. You see, you have to create a partition table to erase the drive. That's not good. That should be improved somehow, that it's clearer, but this is the old way, old buttons, old dialogues, and people got used to it, I guess. So now we have a drive with unformatted data on top, and the other one has the partitions. So we also clean this out, because we are going to make an MD RAID, encrypt it, use it as a physical volume for a volume group, and then make a thin pool in that, and make thinly provisioned volumes in that thin pool. Okay, we have our drives ready here. Oh no, sorry. We want to make a RAID device out of those. 3 RAID 5 created. Here's the RAID device. Now this one has the unformatted data, and these are now all RAID disks belonging to this RAID device. Let's see how it looks. There's the expected unformatted data on top of the MD RAID device, and the MD RAID device itself is on MD RAID disks, the 3 ones that we have chosen. And now we can format this, and no, we don't want to. We want to turn this into a physical volume for a volume group. This has to be done from here. This is now the physical volume of V group 0. V group 0 is here. And there are no logical volumes yet. This is the volume group, and this is the physical volume that we have just selected. And let's create the pool. Full size. And let's look at how the pool looks. This is now a list of thinly provisioned LVM2 logical volumes that are stored on the pool for thinly provisioned logical volumes. Here's information about the pool, and here's our zoom link back to the whole volume group. And here we can now create our thinly provisioned volumes. Oh, we forgot the encryption, huh? Yeah, let's finish this, and then we encrypt something. We can encrypt here the thinly provisioned volume. Let's see if everything breaks, because it's only thin. Okay, so now we have a couple of thinly provisioned volumes in a pool. This is the pool, and it's part of the volume group. This is the volume group in the middle. Here you can see all the volumes, logical volumes that are on it. The pool is here, and these are the 2 thin volumes that we have made. And let's format one with encryption. I don't think this is a best practice to put the encryption so late in the stack. But let's do it. Let's mount it at the same time. Okay. Okay, that worked. So here it is. This is the same kind of table, of course, as on the overview, but restricted to the logical volumes that belong to this volume group. So we have the mount point location here, we have the size, and let's check the details of this. Now you have the file system at the top, as expected, and it is stored with encryption. These are now information about the encryption. There are some keys here that you can modify, and that in turn is contained on this logical volume L1, which is part of the thinly provisioned logical volume stored in volume 0. So now we can zoom there, and yeah, you can see them all. Here's one that we didn't format, and this is the pool, which then is on the volume group. Or you can do it all here on the overview. You see the same structure here, and most operations that are non-destructive and are possible are available here. And if you don't see something that you want to do in this menu, then you click on it and you can find out, for example, that the pool cannot be grown because there's not enough space in the volume group, but you can delete it here. That you couldn't do that on the overview because we want this extra safety here, that people don't by accident delete stuff on the overview, or not by accident, but you know, that you're not tempted to delete stuff in a long list of things and you delete the wrong stuff by accident, maybe. Okay. Yeah, let's quickly look at how the whole thing was in the old approach. You see now every drive has turned into 2 rows now. One still tells you it's a drive, the other one tells you it's, oh no, it's actually a RAID disk. And the location column is very full. Then volume group is down here, that looks the same. But if you click on it, you have the volume group at the top, physical volumes here in the middle, and the logical volumes at the end. They look the same. So just moving stuff around with arrows in between, I think cleans, makes things a little bit clearer. And then let's see how the pool looks. Pool is the same. It's at the top with all this information. And it, for example, has this link still here stored on volume group 0. And the new one, it is the extra card, little card at the bottom, if you want to know where it is stored on, which I also think is an improvement. So yeah, here's the new one. Yeah, tell me what you think. Maybe to summarize, the motivation was to only have one row for one thing. So whatever you do with this drive, it stays one row, and it tells you here what it is used for. And the other idea is that the details pages get strictly from top to bottom, that you can see what is stored on what, you can follow it down. And that had then the consequence that the really old established way of presenting volume groups, for example, got reorganized quite a bit, that you now have logical volumes on the top, the volume group in the middle, and physical volumes at the bottom. Which is actually not so much, if you think about it. Not so much reorganization. Most surprising might be that the drive now is at the bottom. It's not the main focus anymore. It is just something that stuff is stored on. You cannot directly, doesn't feel like the drive is the primary object here anymore, but I think that's fine. And the other one, the same, is for the MD RAID. And MD RAID gives us a block device, so we can put anything on top that we like. Partition table, physical volumes, which would take this place here, and MD rate is at the bottom of it. Which, the more I look at it, the more sense it makes to me. But yeah, let me know. I hope I have explained it enough and not too much. And see you next time.